Hello friends, welcome to New Lessons. Today we are here again with a new topic, that is a synchronous generator. Before this we have learned about DC generator, DC motor and DC machines. Now talking about the AC part, we first deal with synchronous generator, or better known as the alternators. The basic principle operation of these alternators is the Faraday's law, electromagnetic induction, and somewhat similar to that of the DC generators. These alternators operate on the same fundamental principle of electromagnetic induction. You must have remembered the electromagnetic induction. Whenever a coil is moved in a magnetic field, it induces EMF, or our rotating magnetic field inside a coil can induce also EMF. So these are a type of production or formation of electromagnetic induction, and this is the basic principle of alternators. Alternating voltage may be generated by the rotating a coil in the magnetic field or by rotating a magnetic field within a stationary coil, and hence the value of this voltage depends upon the number of turns of the coil, the strength of the field, that is the magnetic field, and the speed at which the coil rotates or the magnetic field rotates. Next, coming to the construction part, it is quite theoretical, so we have to keep patience regarding this. This is all about the construction of a synchronous machine. It is not particularly for the generator or a motor. We are first on the basis part, we are first deal with the synchronous machine. Synchronous machine are the AC machines that have a field circuit supplied by an external DC source. That means an external DC source is there to excite it, means to start it, and hence it is called a synchronous machine. In this type of generator, that is a synchronous generator or the alternators, a DC current is applied to the rotor winding. A rotor winding in the station is the rotating part, that is the rotatory winding. It produces a rotating magnetic field. The rotor is then turned by the external means, producing a rotating magnetic field which induces a three-phase voltage within the stator winding, and we collect this voltage from the stator winding. In synchronous motor, a three-phase set of stator currents produces a rotating magnetic field, causing the rotor magnetic field to align with it. The rotor magnetic field is produced by the DC current applied to the rotor winding. So these are the two basic differences, or we can say the applications of synchronous generator and synchronous motor. About this we will study in brief in our next videos, that is in the higher semester videos. So for the time being, we are just going through the definition and its process. The field windings are the windings producing the main magnetic field, that is the rotor winding on the synchronous machine. Armature windings are the windings where the main voltage is induced. Here you can see two pictures. This is the side view and this is also the side view. Now the rotor of the synchronous machine is a large electromagnet. The magnetic poles can be either silent or non-silent. So silent magnetic poles means they are sticking to the rotor surface, as shown here. In this case they are sticking to the whole rotor surface, so this is a type of silent magnetic field. And in this case, two or more poles are bulging outwards from the rotor surface. This is the inside part of the rotor surface, and we are finding some bulging out parts, and this is the non-silent construction. Non-silent pole rotor usually can be of 2 or 4 pole rotors. Rotors are made laminated to reduce the eddy current losses, and you are quite aware of this eddy current losses. Now there are two common approaches to excite it, or to use it to supply DC current to the field circuits on the rotating part. First one is to supply the DC power from the external DC source to the rotor by means of a slip ring or brushes. Remember, in case of AC part or AC machines, we use slip rings, not the split rings. And the second method, supply the DC power from a specially DC source mounted directly on the shaft of the machine. So we will discuss in brief about these two things. What are the slip rings? These slip rings are the metal rings completely encircling the shaft of a machine but insulated from it. Means one end of the DC is winding connected to each of the two slip rings on the machine shafts. These are made of graphite like carbon brushes connected to DC terminals, and the DC voltage to field windings regardless the position of the speed of the rotor. Hence, it doesn't depend upon the position of the speed of the rotor. It is just fixed to it, and we are collecting the current from these two parts, that is from the slip ring part. Also, this slip ring and brushes have certain disadvantages like friction and wear. There is always a voltage drop across the brushes, and this voltage drop is more significant. That means it is quite measurable. Still, this approach is used because in case of some small synchronous machine. But in case of large generators or motors, brushless exciters are used. These brushless exciters are used in case of the large generators. A brushless exciter in a small AC generator whose field circuits are mounted on the stator and the armature circuits are mounted on the rotor shaft. The exciter's generator 3-phase output is rectified to the DC by a 3-phase rectifier and fed to the main field. Since no mechanical contact occurs between the rotor and the stator, exciters of this type requires much less maintenance. This is the main point main difference between the slip rings and mechanical ring DC field exciters. That is, in case of slip rings we have increased friction and wear because of the mechanical contact, but in this case there is no mechanical contact, and these exciters of this type requires much less maintenance. We will see the figure in the next slides. You can see in this part, this is our rotor, which is further connected to the 3-phase rectifier, and this is the synchronous machine main field. Now we are attaching a exciter, 3-phase input low current exciter, a brushless exciter. A low 3-phase current is rectified, in this case is rectified using this diode bridge, and used to supply the field current of the exciter located on the stator. The output of the exciter's armature on the rotor is rectified and used as a field current of the main machine, and this is for the rectifier and used in a field in the main machine. So this is the process of using brushless exciter. It is a very effective one for large AC machines. Now coming to the very important part, that is the rotation speed of the synchronous generator. Synchronous generators produce electricity whose frequency is synchronized with the mechanical rotational speed. This is the basis for which its name is synchronous machine. Means the synchronous machine produces electricity whose frequency is synchronized with the mechanical rotation speed, which is given as this frequency, that is the electrical frequency, is given as n into p by 120, where n is the speed of the synchronous machine in RPM and p is the number of poles. We have seen several speed turbines which rotate at very high speed. Therefore, to generate 60 Hz, they are usually rotating at 3600 RPM and turn 2-pole generators. Water turbines are most efficient when rotating at low speeds. Therefore, they usually turn generators with many poles. So these are various applications on this formula. Whenever the number of pole increases, the speed we can get a smaller speed, like that of in water turbines. Whenever the number of pole decreases, the speed is very high, that is used in steam turbines. Now the internal generated voltage of the synchronous generator. The magnitude of the internal voltage which is induced in the stator is given as k phi omega, and that is equals to root over 2 pi Nc phi f. Here k is a constant representing the construction of the machine, phi is the flux, and omega is the rotational speed. Since the flux in the machine depends on the field current through it, the internal generated voltage is a function of the rotor field current. In this case, you can find the internal field voltage, the internal generated voltage is a function of the rotor field current. It is similar to that of this. The internally generated voltage in a single phase of synchronous machine EA is not usually the voltage appearing at the terminals. So there are some losses obviously. The reason of this armature voltage EA not equal to the output voltage V phi are: Distortion of the air gap magnetic field caused by the current flowing in the stator, that is what we call the armature reaction. Self-inductance of the armature coils, resistance of the armature coils, and effect of the silent pole rotor shapes. These are major reasons for which the internal generator voltage is not equal to the total voltage appearing at its terminal. That means there are losses due to these reasons. Now these three pictures shows the phasor diagram at leading power factor, lagging power factor and unity power factor. Study of these phasor diagrams and its various components are given in the book. These are a part of electrical machines too in our higher semester, so we'll discuss later on. For a brief idea, just the diagrams I have shown here. Since the voltages in a synchronous generator are AC voltages, they are usually expressed as phasors. In case of DC, we weren't using the phasors. In case of AC, we have phase difference, so we are representing it as phasors. It is just a vector plot of voltage current with one phase, and it is called as the phasor diagram. In this case, you can see the current and the voltage lie in the same phase, and it is the unity power factor, that is the resistive load. In case of inductive load, we get a lagging power factor. The current is lagging the voltage. And in case of capacitive load, that is the leading power factor, the current leads the voltage. For a given field current and magnitude of the load current, the terminal voltage is lower for lagging loads and higher for leading loads. Now talking something about the equivalent circuit of a synchronous generator. Assuming that the generator is connected to a lagging load, that is inductive load, the load current IA will create a stator magnetic field Bs. Therefore, the phase voltage is equals to EA plus E stator voltage, and a net flux will be equals to due to the flux due to the stator field and the flux due to the rotor field. Always remember that the direction of the net magnetic flux and the phase voltages are the same. Now talking about the power and torques in synchronous generator. A synchronous generator needs to be connected to a prime mover whose speed is reasonably constant. The mechanical power applied is given as tau into omega, torque, apparent torque into the rotational speed, which is further converted into electricity by this formula. We can represent this power into electrical in terms of electricity, EMF and current. 3EA IA cos gamma, where gamma is the angle between EA and I. Now this is the flow diagram of the synchronous generator. The input power, that is the input power, is given as the apparent torque into the omega, that is the rotational speed. And when we see from the input to output flow diagram, we will see there are a lot of type of losses, like the stray losses, frictional windage losses, core losses, iron losses. And after this limit, we are getting a P output that is equals to √3 Vt into IL into cos phi. Now the real output power of the synchronous generator is given as √3 Vt IL cos phi, that is equals to 3 V phi Ia cos phi, and the reactive output power is given as Q, that is √3 Vt IL sin phi. This is just the difference cos phi and sin phi between the real power and the reactive power. Real power is the power which we use, and the reactive power is the power due to the inductive circuits. In case of synchronous machine of any size, the armature resistance is very less than the reactance, and therefore the armature resistance can be ignored, and hence we get Ia cos phi equals to Ea sin delta by Xs. In this case, the armature resistance is ignored as it is very smaller than the reactance. You can prefer this phasor diagram also. The real output power of the synchronous generator is approximated to be 3 V phi Ea sin delta by Xs. You can go through its derivation, it is given in the book. We observe the electrical losses assumed to be 0 since the resistance is neglected, and in this case P conversion equals to P output. Here tau is the torque angle of the machine, which is the angle between the VA and EA. Now we have to remember that whenever this tau is equals to 90 degree, we get the maximum power supplied by the generator. So for the maximum power supplied by the generator, we need this torque angle to be 90 degree. Now here I show some of the phasor diagrams on increasing the load of the generator, how they are changes. The lagging power factor, leading power factor, unity power factor. With the increase in the load of the generators, these three phases also change. For lagging inductive loads, the phase in the terminal voltage decreases significantly. Here you can see the phase and the terminal voltage, tau dash voltage decreases in case of lagging factor. In case of unity factor, that is the purely resistive circuit, the phase and the terminal voltage decreases slightly. There is a very little decrease in case of unity power factor as compared to the lagging one. And for the leading, that is the capacitive type, the phase voltage rises very abruptly. Here is a abrupt rise of the phase volt. Now the effect of adding loads can be described with the voltage regulation, and we have seen before the voltage regulation is given as V no load minus V full load by V full load, and this also decides the efficiency of our DC machine. In this case it is a DC generator, it is the AC generator. A synchronous generator operating at a lagging power factor has a fairly larger positive voltage regulation, means a slightly larger positive voltage regulation is there for lagging power factor. For unity power factor, this is very small voltage regulation, and in case of negative power factor, it has a negative voltage regulation. That is a leading power factor, we have the negative voltage regulation. Now how this affects? These are given in this blue box. You can see decreasing the field resistance increases the field current in the generator, and increase in the field current increases the flux in the machine, and increase in the flux leads to the increase in the internal generator voltage, and this increase in the internal generator voltage increases the terminal voltage of the generator. Therefore the terminal voltage of the generator can be changed by adjusting the field resistance. From the fourth part to first point, you can see the terminal voltage can be thus changes by adjusting the field resistance. Now this is the parallel operation of synchronous generator. It is very widely used. Some of its advantages are several generators can supply bigger load. In case of very high supply required, we can use it as parallel generators. A failure of single generator does not result in the total shutdown of the power. The other system can work easily. Individual generators may be removed from the power system for maintenance without shutting down the load. A single generator not operating at near full load might be quite insufficient. While having several generators in parallel, it is possible to turn on and get little bit more efficiency than using a single generator. Now there are some conditions for paralleling. Suppose we want to make a parallel connection between generator 1 and generator 2 across this load. So there are four major points which I have to remember. The RMS line voltage should be equal of the two generators, that is the RMS line voltage of the two generators must be equal. They must have the same phase sequence. The phase angles of the two must be equal, and the frequency of the oncoming generator must be slightly higher. That is the frequency of this second part should be slightly higher than the frequency of the running system. These are the four conditions required for paralleling, and this is very important part. This is very widely used in a practical application. Now here I discuss an example. Obviously this is a very big question. Please have some patience. A 480 volt 60 Hz star connected 6-pole synchronous generator has a per phase synchronous reactance of 1 ohm. Its full load armature current is 60 ampere at 0.8 power factor lagging. Windage and friction losses are given 1.5 kilowatt and core losses are 1 kilowatt at 60 Hz. Assume that the armature resistance and therefore I square losses can be ignored. The field current has been adjusted to no load terminal voltage is 480. So in this case we have to calculate the speed of the rotation of the generator, the terminal voltage in case of leading, lagging and unit power factor, the efficiency of the generator, the shaft torque and the voltage regulation. As it is given as star connected, we know V phase equals to the line voltage by root 3. It was given as 480 and hence 480 by root 3 equals to 277 volt because the star connect, it is in star connected. Now at no load the armature current is 0 and the internal generated voltage is EA equals to this V phase. You have to remember at no load IA equals to 0 means armature current is 0 and hence the internal generated voltage EA is same as the V phase, that is 277 volt, and it is constant since the field current are initially adjusted that way. Now for finding the speed of the rotation we have the formula N equals to 120 F by P, where frequency is given as 60 Hz and number of poles is 6, so we get 1200 RPM. This is in case of in terms of unit is RPM, we have to convert it into omega, that is the rotational speed in radian per second, so we multiply 2 pi by 60 and hence we get 125.7 radian per second. Here is the phasor diagram. A good study of phasor diagram will always help you in solving such type of questions, so you need a bit practice for this. Now for the generated at the rated current and 0.8 lagging power factor, the phasor diagram is shown. EA is 277 volt. Now from the phasor diagram we get JXSIS, that is the reactance, is equals to 60 angle 53.13 degree. We have two unknown quantities, that are the magnitudes of V phi and the angle delta of EA. From the phasor diagram we can solve like this. This is the given EA V phi. So by applying the Pythagoras theorem you can see EA square equals to V phi plus XSIA sin theta square plus XSIA cos theta square, and hence we get the value V phi equals to 236.8 volt. Now the generator is in star connected, so the line voltage will be root 3 times of the V voltage V phi, that is 236.8 into root 3, that is 410 volt. Now for the generator at unity power factor, similarly we draw the phasor diagram. Remember, it is always required for us to study these phasor diagrams in a very well mannered, because they are very helpful. So you must go through the books for studying these phasor diagrams. I'm just briefing this in small terms. Now we are having a unity power factor. In this case IA and VA are in the same phase. So the formula for V phi in this case is EA square minus XSIA cos theta square minus XSIA sin theta, which comes up to be 270.4 volt, and VT, that is line voltage, comes up to be root 3 V phi. Again for the leading power factor also we do the same thing, and VT, the line voltage, comes up to be 535 volt. The output power of the generator at 60 ampere and 0.8 power lagging, power formula we have known earlier, is given as 3 V phi IA cos theta. Now we are talking about 0.8 power factor lagging, so we use 3 into V phi in case of lagging into IA 60 ampere into cos phi, that is power factor 0.8, and the power comes out to be 34.1 kilowatt. Now calculating the total mechanical input power, we have P output plus all the types of losses, that is electrical loss, core loss and mechanical loss. All the three losses are given in the question, and we have calculated the power output here. So the mechanical input comes out to be 36.6 kilowatt. Now for efficiency, we know power output by power input gives the efficiency, and the efficiency is 93.2%. These are very simple terms, just we have to understand the meanings of these terms and remember some formulas. The concepts should be very clear before solving these numericals. Now the input torque of the generator, tau, we know that power equals to tau into omega, and hence tau equals to P by omega. It comes to 291.2 Newton meter. Now the counter torque of the generator is from the P conversion by the omega m, that is 271.3. Now the last bit, that is the voltage regulation of the generator. We have calculated the V phase of the three different types, that is the lagging, unity and leading power factor. Here we have the voltage regulations of all the three types. This is the no load current and this is the full load current in different types, that is the leading, lagging or unity. Hence we get the voltage regulations in all these three types. So this was all about alternators, DC generators. You need to practice more numericals regarding this so that you will be very conceptually clear.